Please take them and give to them and giving it back to them. So that's called, you know what it's called? Huh? Love. Yeah, that's love. It's, even though it's all their stuff, you're giving them. So similarly, today we're going to give honor to Narottam Das Thakur. And one way we'll do it is we'll sing the bhajans or prayers, a couple of them, that he wrote. You follow? Does that make sense what I said there? Okay. Is it up there on the screen? Yes. Okay. Corona. Just a little information which you might not know. That, what do you want me to do? You may not want this, but. Baro Corona Koro Vaishnava Goshai. Corona means mercy, yeah. So this one time, now please, e baro. This time, Corona Koro, give me mercy. Who? Vaishnava Goshai. All this great devotees. Yeah, we're asking. So, you might not think that you're qualified to get the mercy of God or His great devotee. But you know what? Something interesting to know is that when in this age, this is called Kali Yuga, in this age, the incarnation of God in this age, who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to give love of God, that topmost mercy, to everybody, and he wasn't even considering who was qualified or not qualified. But if they would take it, he would give it. So, a good thing to do is to ask for it. But if you ask for it, then there's more of a chance you'll get it, right? So this is, baro koruna koro. You please, I'm asking for your mercy. Please give it, please, right? Vaishnava Goshai, patit pavana. Toma bine ke honai. Because if I don't get it from you, you can deliver me from the mire of material suffering that I'm in. But without getting it from you, I'm lost. I'm not going to get it. How will I get it? This is a nice prayer. Also, so you'll see it there. You ready? Anybody want to play the drum or no? E baro koruna koro Vaishnava Goshai. Are you really asking? E baro koruna koro Vaishnava Goshai. Vaishnava Goshai. Patit pavana Toma bine ke honai. Patita pavana Toma bine ke honai. Jaharani thate gele আপো দূরে যায় আপো দূরে এ মন দয়ালো প্রভু খেবা কোথা পায় Prabhu ke ba kota pa. You with me still? This is Bengali. I'm American. I'm singing it, so you can too. Gangar parash hoile paschate pavan. Darshane pavitra तुम्हारे तुम्हार को दर्शने पवित्र तुम्हारे तुम्हार को. That means that you can get purified by taking bath in the Ganges for a while. But you can get immediately purified just by getting the darshan, or by seeing the great Vaishnava. Hari sthane aparadhe Hare Hari Naam. Hari sthane aparadhe Thomasthane aparadhe nahi paritra. Tomar hridoye sada Govinda Vishram. Hridoye sada Govinda kohera mora Vaishnava para. Govinda kohera mora Vaishnava para. Prati jane kori asha Charaner dhuli Narottame koro doya apnar bole. Narottame koro doya apnar bole. Ebar koruna koro Vaishnava Goshai. Baro Karuna Karo Vaishnava Goshai. Baro Karuna Karo Patit Pavala Tumhar bine keho nahi. Patit Pavala Tumhar bine keho nahi. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtottara Sutta Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा देवी की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So even though I'm not going to read from the Vedas today, so why should we say Om Namo Bhagavate? Usually we say that if we read from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. But the songs of Narottam Das Thakur have been identified and verified as being as good as Shruti, Bhagavad Gita, Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. As good. Not just like I say so, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada also all said the same. So this song that we sang, E Baro Korona Karo Vaishnava Goshai, Patita Pavana Toma Bini Kehonai. Then it was, what's the next line? Is it still there? It's gone. It left? Jahara Nikate Gele Pap. Just by getting close to you, Nikate means close, right? If you're going close to you, then your sinful reactions and your bad karma goes away. Pretty neat, huh? Pap Dure Jai. That's your quality. How can I find somebody not like? Where will I find somebody like that? Then by taking bath in the Ganges for a long time, you might get purified. But just by seeing you, we get the same effect. If we're causing trouble or we're rascals in relation to God, Krishna, Haristane Aparade, if we're offensive to God, you can become still delivered by chanting the holy names. Tare Harina means by chanting the holy names. But if we're offensive to the pure devotee, we're in big trouble. There's no saving us. In the heart of such a person, as Narottam Das Thakur, Krishna is always there within his heart. And Krishna says himself that my devotees are my life. God is giving life to everybody, but he says the devotees, the pure devotees, their servants, are his life. So he says, I just wish in every prati janme, means in every birth, I'd be able to get the dust from your lotus feet. That's my wish, that's my prayer. So this is a very nice prayer by Narottam Das Thakur. So I mentioned before about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the incarnation of God delivering the message, the method of spiritual realization in this age of Kali, which is, anybody know what that might be? I'm just seeing if you're with me. Come on. Yeah, we got somebody here. Good, thank you. Yeah, chanting of the holy names. He traveled all over India, all the way down to the south and up north, and and encouraged everybody he met to regularly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In part of his travels, he decided at some point, about 2 years after he took the renounced order of life, to go to Vrindavan, the holy place Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna had his childhood pastimes. On his way, the first time he tried to go, he went north to the Ganges River, and the plan was to go across India along the Ganges, because that would have been an easier method. Right? So on the way, he stopped in Bengal, and he met two very wonderful devotees named Rupa Sanatan. And as he was talking with them, all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, he started looking off into the east. And everybody's, what is he going? He says, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. And people were baffled. What's this? What's going on? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Who is that Narottam, right? That's what we're talking about. So he mentioned that as he was spreading the chanting of the holy names all throughout India, Narottam will be appearing very soon east there in what's now Bangladesh, and he will be carrying that message all over that area and preaching the message of the holy name to all those residents in that part of the world. And so doing, he'd become very dear to him. But Chaitanya said that. So Lord Krishna, as you probably know, in the beginning of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he describes what, in his view, is the best method, technique, or procedure to acquire wisdom. Do you know this? Yeah. In order to understand the truths which are really essential for us human beings to know, in order to make a solution to the most pressing problems that we face as human beings. You follow? So Lord Krishna is giving Arjuna, telling in the Bhagavad Gita, what's the method? So what are those challenges or difficulties? What is the meaning or the purpose of your life? Is there a way for you and I to be truly happy? Is there existence beyond death? And if so, what will happen to you and your loved ones at the time of death, after death? Is there a direction or person behind the workings of this world? And if there is, what is your relationship? What is our relationship with that person? You follow? These are big questions, right? Deep questions that really they occupy people for generations and millennia, the answers to those questions. So Krishna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, at the beginning, he gives his method to arrive about that, to get that special and important knowledge. And you know what he said? Some of you know, I know. He called it, you got to get that information from something called parampara, disciplic succession. Disciplic succession. Okay. That means, so what is that? What is a disciplic succession? It's kind of funny. You don't hear those terms, right, in regular parlance, right? So disciplic succession are a sequence of persons or personalities. A teacher instructs a student. Okay? The student hears, studies, serves the teacher, and when he or she thoroughly understands and becomes personally enlightened by that, the student then becomes a teacher, him or herself, and patches that sacred knowledge on to the next student. Do you follow? Yep. And so on and so on. So this is like an ongoing chain from spiritual master to disciple. And from where do the original reliable knowledge come from? That's from Krishna, God. He's the reservoir of perfect, reliable knowledge. And that is his gift. That knowledge is his gift to each one of us. The chain of teachers, what was the name? What was it called? What was that? Very good, very good. Parampara. Yeah. Is Lord Krishna's method, and this is noted in Bhagavad Gita, of ensuring that the information that he's giving, his original pristine message, is not bastardized, adulterated, watered down, or diverted for some other purpose. Do you follow? It's like I think now there's a big thing about there was some lobbying going on because the history books were including too much information about Black Lives Matter. Did you hear about this? So some lobbying groups put pressure, and so they took it out of the history books. So that could happen also in spiritual life. And well, we don't kind of like that. Let's get rid of that part, and we get rid of that part, and what are you left with? Something watered down, misdirected, and that. So this is Krishna's method, so that the original pure pristine message doesn't get messed up, and that's the cyclic succession. And the verse there in Bhagavad Gita is evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalene habhata yogo nashta parantapa. Because over the course of time, things get messed up. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So he says, but in course of time, because the succession, the chain got messed up, then the science of how to understand yourself and the Supreme got lost. So I could give you a little bit of an example. In one sense, it's something like, anybody do the stock market? Oh, people perked up there, right? So in the stock market, especially if you really want to make your good money, if you get some tips from an insider, you get good results, isn't it? Isn't it? I won't ask you if you've done insider trading. I'm not going to ask you that. But so knowledge from somebody who's on the inside and who may know the details of the corporate plan, and so that a person can have the opportunity to invest savings, and then that way you can become extremely wealthy. So Lord Krishna, in this analogy I'm giving, is the supreme insider. He's within and without everybody. And his people are aware of how things operate in his realm, isn't it? His people know. Yeah. So these people, these inside people, can give you the tip, inside information about how to invest your energy, your life, your aspirations to get the very best outcome. So the point is to get knowledge from such a person. Find such a person and get knowledge from such a person. You follow? Okay. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. If you want to get really valuable, good information, you got to get one of those people in disciplic succession at Guru. Yeah. And without getting knowledge from such a parampara Guru, it will be impossible, or next to impossible, to get such knowledge. Because you can't figure it out on your own. The Vedas say this knowledge is aparusheya, which means it's not comprehensible by material, mundane speculation. It's got to come from a pure divine source. So this is pretty shocking, because here in the West we think we're very smart and we can figure everything out. We got science and all those things. But even the epitome of Western philosophy, people idealize the Greeks, isn't it? Who are some famous Greek philosophers? Aristotle. I was thinking of Socrates, but no. Yeah. Plato, Socrates. Anyway, Socrates. And if you study Socrates, you come to the point he says, my conclusion is, my first important conclusion is, I know that I don't know. Isn't it? At least that's what we learned in school. I know that I don't know. Okay, that's good. That's a good start. So then, Krishna consciousness in Bhagavad Gita goes one step further. Okay, you don't know? Then guess what? What's your next step? Ask somebody who knows, right? If you don't know, ask somebody who knows, and then you can know. Then you can know also. This is called parampara. You got it. You follow me. Okay, good. So, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada, is an exemplary, bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession. And he would often compare the function of such a disciple, a spiritual teacher in disciplic succession to a postal worker. Not a very glamorous occupation. Anybody work in the post office? No. In fact, in India, I think they call it a post peon. Do they? That's what I heard. Anyway. So it's not a very glamorous. But what's the job of the postal worker? What do? They take your mail and they open it up and they say, is there anything? I'll take that for myself. Is that what they do? No, of course not. Their job is just to take it, don't change anything, don't add anything, don't take anything out, and deliver it to the recipient. So that's the job of the guru in disciplic succession. No change, no additions, no subtractions, everything just as it is, without change, adulteration from Krishna. Okay. So, Narottam, we're talking today about Narottam Das Thakur. He's another perfect example of such a bona fide teacher. Guru, who can provide the knowledge we were talking about. He is one of the very, very important links of the chain. Okay? And just like, you've probably used the chain maybe to pull something. So the chain, you might put the end of the chain to attach something that you're going to pull, and then you pull the rest of the chain. So there's one part of the chain that's attached to the thing you're going to pull, right? But so that's a really important part. But the whole chain you have to pull. All of the chain parts are important, and the whole chain is represented in that last chain. Do you follow? Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada, our current spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement, is also a representative of that previous chain link, Narottam Das Thakur. So he's like an ambassador for Narottam Das Thakur. And that's, and not only just Narottam Das Thakur, but before Lord Chaitanya, the incarnation of God for this age. So a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. The weakest link, right? So, so we will show. So today we're going to examine and marvel at the strength of this particular link in the disciplic chain. Who is that? Narottam Das Thakur. Good. We will show that the same knowledge and message that Narottam Das heard from his guru and taught his own disciples is current today in the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. For he has passed on those brilliant teachings of Narottam Das Thakur as they are, especially in the form of the many prayers and bhajans that Narottam Das Thakur, also known as Thakur Mahashai, composed. And as we said before, those prayers are said to be, according to the authorities, as good as the Vedas. So I was reading, they started a school, a Gurukul, a Hare Krishna Gurukul in Dallas some time ago, and there was a teacher there, and she got instruction from Srila Prabhupada about how to teach some of the kids. And one of the things he wanted them to do was to learn shlokas and prayers, by rote, every day. So they would recite like the chapter of Bhagavad Gita, or recite the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. And he said something very interesting. He said, those sound vibrations will affect your subtle body and will travel with you to your next body if you have to take another birth, so that you'll be able to take advantage of them in your next life if you don't make it back to Godhead in this life. It's a very interesting statement, Nowadays, people want to have like a cell phone. Who has a cell phone here? Anybody? Yeah. Because you want to have access to something you want to communicate with your friends, your loved ones, right? And it's handy. It's right there with you. Well, guess what? These prayers and these mantras, if you memorize them, you can take them with you, and you can use them to communicate with the most important person, God, and His devotees. And not only that, not only in this life, but in your next life too, if you have to take another birth. Isn't that interesting? So I encourage you to memorize and remember these prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. So when Lord Chaitanya was questioned, well, you said Narottam, who are you talking about? They said, so he said that there would be this great personality who was going to be born very soon. So it was about 10 years or 15 years later that Narottam Das Thakur took birth. An interesting point is, in Srila Prabhupada's discussions and teachings and lectures, he hardly ever talked about Narottam Das Thakur's life history. Hardly ever. Mostly he emphasized his prayers and his teachings. So that's what I'll try to do today. I'll just give a brief thing. So his appearance was about somewhere between 1520 and 1530, which is about 10, 15 years before Lord Chaitanya's disappearance in what's now Bangladesh, a place called Gopalpur Keturi. And when he was a young boy, like early teens maybe, Lord Chaitanya's first associate, his name is Nityananda, yeah. He came to him in a dream and he said, okay, I want you to go and take bath in a local river. There's a branch of the Ganges that goes through Bangladesh called the Padma. So Lord Chaitanya, when he had come there before, like I said before, when he went to Bengal, he deposited some special mercy for Narottam Das Thakur in the Padma River with the goddess of the Padma. Just like the Ganges, there's Mother Ganges, so there's also in this. So when Narottam Das, actually his parents had forbade him to bathe in the river because they had some astrologer told him, that problem might happen if he goes there. So they were thinking maybe he's going to drown or something. But when he went there that next morning without telling anybody, he took bath there. And then the river started to boil and bubble, and Mother Padma gave him love of God. And he became a bit unusual in his life, because then he wanted to spend his life doing spiritual devotional activities. And so shortly thereafter, he, as still a young boy, he left home and went to Vrindavan, and he was told again in a dream by Lord Nityananda to go to Vrindavan and take initiation from a devotee named Lokanath Das Goswami, who was an associate of Lord Chaitanya. So that he learned, and while in Vrindavan, he learned from great devotees who were there. There was Jiva Goswami, who was considered like the most famous and unbelievably wonderful philosopher in Vaishnava philosophy ever. Jiva Goswami was there, Lokanath, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he learned from them for some time. And then, after doing that, he came back to Bengal. And on his way back to Bengal, or shortly after he came back to Bengal and went to Keturi, something happened he was also visited in a dream by Lord Chaitanya. He and some others at the same time. And Lord Chaitanya said that, I would like you to inaugurate the celebration of my birth anniversary. We call that, anybody know what we call that? Gaur Purnima, yeah. Because up to that time, it had been observed very, very little, very small, but not in a big way. So, and he said, if you do this, if you have the celebration, you know what? I'll come. He said, if you do this, I will come. There's a movie like that. If you do this, I will come. So Narottam was shocked that this would happen. So he collaborated with Lord Nityananda's widow and another devotee named Srinivas, and they established the first Gaur Purnima festival in Keturi, in Bangladesh. And there were thousands of devotees that came. And so we're following. We also celebrate the Gaur Purnima festival because of that. Thousands of devotees came, and they were doing kirtan, the chanting of the holy names together. And just about 11 o'clock that night as they were doing the kirtan, guess what happened? Lord Chaitanya had left. He had already left. But he came back. He had disappeared. But he came back with himself, not just himself, but Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Thakur, all of his associates came, they descended, and they were dancing in the sight of those thousands. It wasn't just like a, one-person delusion. But everyone saw Lord Chaitanya dancing ecstatically in the kirtan, and the kirtan roared all night till the next day. And also at that Ketori Gram festival, Gaur Purnima, all these Vaishnavas, devotees from all over India came. And that was about, like I said, maybe I didn't mention, about 50 years after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance. So at that time, like we said, Sakale Neha Moata. After time passes, things start to go off track, get off the rails. So that was what happened also that time. Things started to get off the rails. Some people said, well, you don't have to worship, you can just worship Lord Chaitanya, you don't have to worship Lord Nityananda. Oh. Some people say, well, just like the gopis worship Radha Krishna, we should worship Lord Chaitanya in the mood of the gopis. They're called the Gauranga Nagaris. Then some people say, well, we'll just worship Lord Chaitanya, but we won't worship Radha Krishna. We don't do that. So all these different philosophies started to pop up after 50 years. And at this place, Narottam Das Thakur and Lord Nityananda's widow, Mother Janavi, they brought everybody together, and they worked out, they spoke the philosophy so that everybody could agree on the pure philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So that was a very big deal. Then after that, Narottam Das Thakur, he went further east and north, and he introduced his special, wonderful kirtan in the hill country of India. There's some states up there called like Nagaland. You know this? Those are Indian geography people, And there's another state called Manipur. Yeah, so he went there, and so then even into the 20th century, people remembering Narottam Das Thakur because of the kirtans that he introduced there in that part of India. So it was pretty wonderful. So just as Lord Chaitanya, when he began the Sankirtan movement in Navadvip, he got initiated by his spiritual master when he was 16. And after that, he came back to Navadvip and he initiated and inaugurated the Krishna consciousness movement. And in the beginning of the Krishna consciousness movement, what he did was he really preached the importance of chanting the holy names, which is the same thing that Narottam Das Thakur did and the same thing that Srila Prabhupada did. And he cited a particular verse from the Brihad Naradiya Purana. Maybe some of you know that verse. It goes like this. Anybody? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. So then Lord Chaitanya explained it, and I'm going to read this explanation here. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna, God. And simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. So, you might have noticed that in the English translation there was a repetition. Did you notice that? 3 times? Who do you got to tell something 3 times? Right? What? People are a little bit dull, right? Like us. Isn't it? Sometimes you do it with your kids, don't you? You got to do it with the kids. Okay. The verse, the word Eva is repeated 3 times for emphasis, and also 3 times repeats Hare Nam, the name of the Lord, just to make common people understand. Srila Prabhupada then writes a purport. To emphasize something to an ordinary person, one may repeat it 3 times, just as one might say, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Thus, this verse repeatedly emphasizes the chanting of the holy names so that people may take it seriously and thus free themselves from the clutches of illusion. It is our practical experience in the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world that many millions of people are factually coming to the spiritual stage of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly, according to the prescribed principles. Therefore, our request to all of you is that you daily chant at least our students daily chant at least 16 rounds of the Hare Nam Mahamantra and follow the regulative principles. Thus, their success will be achieved without doubt. Then he says, the use of the word Kevala prohibits all other processes, such as cultivation of knowledge, practice of yoga, mystic yoga, and performance of austerities and fruitive activities. Purport, Prabhupada says, our Krishna consciousness movement stresses the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra only, whereas those who do not know the secret of success for this age unnecessarily indulge in the cultivation of knowledge, the practice of mystic yoga, or the performance of fruitive activities. They are simply wasting their time and misleading their followers. When we point this out very plainly to audience members of opposing groups, they become angry. But according to the injunctions of the scriptures, we cannot make any compromise with these karmis, gyanis, or yogis. When they say that they are good and we are good, we say no, that only we are good. That is not our obstinacy. It is the injunction of the scriptures. We must not deviate from the injunctions of the scriptures, and this is confirmed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I was saying, like, what did I say before? We don't change anything, we just give it, right? Remember that part? Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about Narottam Das Thakur had written different prayers. So when you do praying, what is praying about? What are you doing when you're praying? Talking to God, yes. Yeah. Like what somebody said? What are you doing when you're praying? Yeah. Communicating, talking, yeah. Anything else? You sometimes expressing a desire. Yeah. So the prayer, usually there's two parts. Maybe you know there's two parts of a prayer. One part of the prayer is often a glorification of the person you're praying to. Yeah. And then another part is, what are you asking for? What do you want? What? These two things, that's part of the prayer, right? Okay, who am I talking to? And what do you want? Who am I talking to? And what do you want? Those are important things. Depends on what you want. Like nowadays in Philadelphia, probably a lot of people are praying over a certain outcome of a football game. Isn't it? There was a famous story where a washerwoman who was carrying all of her clothes, washed herself, she was carrying it. She didn't have any vehicle, so she was carrying it all on her back. And then all of a sudden she slipped and well, her wash, she just clean, fell on the ground. And so she says, Krishna! So you know what happened? Krishna appears. He says, what would you like? What would you like? And she says, you can imagine what she said. Put the clothes back on my back. You follow? So if you want to ask for something, you want to ask for something that's really, really valuable, right? So we're gonna look at one more prayer of Narottam Das Thakur. Is it here? Oh, great. Do I have the kartals? Oh, you have kartals here. Okay. This is we'll start off. It starts out Hari Hari. That means Hari is another name for God. Bipale means useless. Janma, my life is useless. My life is Hari Hari Bipale Janma Goinainu. Manushya Janma Paya. Even though I've taken this human form, Manushya Janma Paya. Radha Krishna na bhajiya. I've neglected to worship God, Radha Krishna. Janiya Shunya Bishakainu. Janiya Shunya Bishakainu. Bish means poison. Janiya means I knew it. And Shunya means I was warned. People told me that's poison. I knew it was poison, but you know what? I still ate it. I still took the poison. This is our condition. This is our condition in the material world. You know? Well, there's two kinds of poison, actually. One part of the poison is you're putting it in yourself, and it has the physical reactions right off the bat. You might get sick to your stomach, you may throw up, you might die, right? But so there's the poison itself, which poisons our body and our mind, and then there's disease, etc. But even though you've been warned, you still indulge. Why? Another part of the poison is the after effects, that influence it has on being able to manipulate our subsequent desires. Do you follow? Yeah. So the latter, when you take the poison, it can influence your later desires, what you want. It's aided by a giant industry in this world to ensure that your desires continue to be channeled in such a way that you remain poisoned. Do you follow? Yeah. And so that you can be exploited, those desires for material gain. You know what that's called? Madison Avenue, yeah. Advertising, where billions of dollars are spent annually to keep you ingesting poison. But long before there was things like Fox News and stuff, there were all kinds of advertisers, and they were telling us that if we just had the right car, the right clothes, the perfect sound systems, or we read the Wall Street Journal and became the best little consumers of God, for the God ever made, we'd have made it. We've been addicted to that way of thinking since we were kids. And, there's this elaborately staged deception of a guy in a red suit and a sleigh who's pulled by reindeer who could fly without any visible means of support, bringing toys to all the boys and girls everywhere in the world, only if they've been good. So if we grew up to adulthood, we might have realized that adults were colluding in lying to us, knowing full well that we were going to understand at some point in the future that wasn't true. You follow? Yeah. But it should be a warning for what continues to happen. A very serious mistake we make in this life is that we think such delusions ended with Santa Claus. You follow? And when we grow up, they haven't continued to the present. Actually, they continue to go on. We continue to take the poison, and we continue to think that's the real thing we need to do with our lives. Janiya shunya bishakainu. Golokera premadhan harinam shankirtan. This chanting of the holy names is coming from the spiritual sky. The vibration is coming. Golokera premadhan harinam sankirtan. Ratina janmidol kenetai. But unfortunately, we don't care for it. We'd rather do something else. We got something better to do. Yeah. This is the prayer. This is our condition. Brajendra Nandana J. Shachi Shuto Hoilo Se. Brajendra Nandan means the son of Maharaj Nanda. You know who that is? Krishna. Sachi Sutta Hoilose. That person has appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Balaram Hoilo Nitai. And Lord Balaram has appeared as Lord Nityananda. Is it still there? You can still see? Deen Heen Jata Chilo Harinam Udharilo. Even people like us can be delivered from our material involvement just by this chanting of the holy names, just like Jagai Madhai. These were epitomes of slouches, people. That was the description. I said there's two parts of the prayer. Well, the first part was about glorifying. Yeah. And now here's the request. Haha Prabhu Nanda Sutta, Brishabhanu Sutta Yuta. Nanda Sutta is another name for Krishna. Brishabhanu Sutta, who's that? Srimati Radharani. Both of you. Karuna Koroho Ebaro. Now you please, be merciful to me this time, please. Narottam Das Koi Na Teli Horanga Pai, Toma Bina Ke Ache Amar. He says, now this is Narottam, and he's doing it as a representative for all of us. Now you please don't kick me away. Don't kick me away. Let me stay with at your lotus feet, because otherwise I have nothing else. Okay. You follow? Okay. So we got 5 minutes. We can sing this prayer. Hare Krishna. All right. You ready? You ready? We'll try to sing. I'll try to sing it. We'll try to sing it with feeling a little bit. Okay. All right. Hari Hari. This is kind of a prelude. Hari Hari Bipale Janama Goinu. You say. Hari Hari Good, 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 good. Manushya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya. Oh. You got it, right? Janiya Shuniya Bisha Kainu Golokera Premadhana Harinam Sankirtana. Ratina Janmiloke Netai. Too slow, too fast. Tai Sangsara Bishanale Dibanishi Hiyajvale Bishanale Dibanishi Hiyajvale Judaite Nakainupai. Oh, Brajendra Nandana Jai Sachisuta Hoilo Se Brajendra Nandana Jai Sachisuta Hoilo Se Balaram Hoilo Nitai. Yes. Dinhin Jatachila Harinam Udharilo. Harinam Udharilo. Tar Shakti Jagai Madhai. Jagai Madhai. Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta. Yeah. This is you're asking now. Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta. Karuna ko hai baro. Karuna karo hai baro. Narottam Das Koi Nateli Horanga Pai. Narottam Das Koi Nateli Horanga Pai. Oma bine ke ache amara. Toma bine ke ache amara. Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Prem Anande. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Vishnugada Prabhu. We will now have our team here.